Staff members over at the Washingtonian magazine have gone on strike following their boss's decision to pen an op-ed fighting back against remote work. Now, during the pandemic, many people who were fortunate enough to keep their jobs were able to work from home. And they ended up loving it because, of course, it does away with the commute, does away with some in-office distractions. And so people would like to continue working from home even as people get vaccinated and the pandemic gets less and less threatening to their lives. But this one CEO, her name is Kathy Merrill, she's the CEO of the Washingtonian, is not in favor of this. So in her op-ed, she had this, I don't really want to say veiled threat. It was a threat to her workers who insist on working remote. She says, while some employees might like to continue to work from home and pop in only when necessary, that presents executives with a tempting economic option the employees might not like. Ooh, tell me more. What is that tempting economic option? She says, I estimate that about 20% of every office job is outside one's core responsibilities. Extra. It includes helping a colleague, mentoring more junior people, celebrating someone's birthday, things that drive office culture. If the employee is rarely around to participate in those extras, management has a strong incentive to change their status to contractor.
So I have a lot to say about this, and I'm a little bit more mixed on it than you are. But the part I probably object to most is 20% of your job is to waste your time at birthday parties.
No, but Cenk, but it's okay. I'm so happy that this is something that we can talk about because it's so true. Because you don't only get judged on how well you perform on your core responsibilities and your core job. There's also like the office politics and the pressure to engage in things that maybe you don't want to engage in. You know, maybe I don't want to go to Joe Schmo's birthday after work. Maybe I don't want to go to like the office picnic. Maybe I want to actually enjoy Saturday for myself, right? Something like that.
No, I'm gonna make you go.
Or maybe, and then here's the other thing. Like maybe when my job's done, I leave and I don't just stick around and dilly-dally to give people the illusion of being a hard worker. That's another thing. And there's so much crap like that in the office. I mean, here I feel like it's at a minimum, but I know that it's definitely true of other offices and it's unbearable. No, people should get paid for the work that they do. And you shouldn't be expected to do things outside of your core responsibilities just to like give people the illusion of hard work and office culture. I'll get to office culture in a second.
Look, of course it's a mixed bag because it is great to mentor people and that is a good thing. And if somebody wants to get mentored and somebody's willing to do the mentoring, that's wonderful, right? And birthday parties can be fun. They're not supposed to be like some sort of strict affair, right? And trust me, there ain't no birthday parties at an Amazon factory, okay? And if they are, they must be confined to 29 minutes during your lunch break, and you need to get your ass back onto that assembly line. But at some point, somebody mentioned while discussing this story, like bosses that make note of people that don't go to like the holiday parties or picnics or something.
Right.
Those bosses just simply are not working hard enough. Like, you got time to track who didn't come to the holiday party? What kind of a weirdo, like psychotic boss are you, right? Like, it's a party. If people come and you have a good time and you provided free alcohol, yay, and hors d'oeuvres, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then everybody, people that came had fun, that's awesome, right? But like, oh, I see Susie wasn't here. She didn't want the free alcohol and hors d'oeuvres.
Dude, believe it or not,
go get a job.
Those people exist, Cenk. Those people, yeah, exactly. And those are, and I think that there are probably far more of them than you realize. But anyway, so then let's get to the thinly veiled, not really thinly veiled threat. I think it's just out there in the open. Instead of receiving a set salary, because remember, she says, maybe if you don't want to come into work, maybe we'll make you contractors instead. Instead of receiving a set salary, contractors are paid only for the work they do, either hourly or by appropriate output metrics. That would also mean not having to pay for healthcare, a 401k match, and our share of FICA and Medicare taxes, benefits that in my company's case add up roughly to an extra 15% of compensation. So understandably, the staff over at the Washingtonian read that and was like, oh, you want to play? We just wanted to work from home because we've been able to work from home, and we've actually produced some of our best work that's gotten the most readership during the pandemic. So what's up with these threats? So they decided to go on strike, and they didn't work on Friday of last week. They didn't publish anything. One of their workers said, her name is Lauren Bulbin. She's a photo editor. She says, I feel really humiliated. Every single person I know in my life read that op-ed and contacted me about it. People I respect in the media industry and beyond came to me and were really shocked that this is where I'm working. And then after that, the CEO kind of tried to pretend as if she wasn't threatening anyone. She was just like, no, I'm not gonna touch anyone's healthcare benefits. No, I was just providing like some commentary on the importance of office culture. Office culture. We'll talk about culture. I know I keep saying that, but it is important to talk about how office culture, especially when it's uttered by the likes of this CEO, is complete and utter nonsense. In fact, many corporate CEOs love pitting their workers against one another, and I'll provide evidence of that in just a second.
Yeah, so look, the reason why I say I'm a little bit more mixed on this than you is because her article was so tone deaf that it made me think that she's more likely to be in this kind of elitist bubble where all of her CEO friends are saying things like that, and she thought, I do declare, I'll speak out on behalf of the poor, downtrodden CEOs. It seemed less malicious to me than clueless. And then of course she has to backpedal right afterwards because it was incredibly clueless. If you didn't intend it as a threat, I can't believe that you didn't see that it sounded like a threat, right? Because it didn't appear to be subtle. It wasn't like, like I was expecting in the op-ed that she would be like, look, obviously I wouldn't do this at the company. I'm telling you because I'm worried about you guys. If you're working at a different company, other CEOs might be thinking like this, right? And so at least that way you're on the record as saying you will not do it to your employees. That gives people assurances and they can go back to that if you do, etc. But she didn't say any of that. She just was like, oh, all my CEO buddies say that we should fire you guys and hire you as contractors and save money. And by the way, that's not true. You can't just say, hey, somebody does a full-time job outside of the office, so let's take away their benefits.
It's crazy.
No, it's also not how the law works. No, they're still a full-time employee and they're owed their benefits. There's a different category for contractors, and that has different qualifications, different specs, etc. It's not just that they're not here at the office. She's factually wrong about that too. She's in a lot of trouble because I mean, as I read that article, I'm like, she's not nearly busy enough.
Yeah,
okay.
For real.
And she misunderstands some critical parts of how employee and labor laws work.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And so I also want to kind of touch on why it is that corporate CEOs are demanding their workers to come back to the office rather than work remotely, even in cases where it's proven that the workers working remotely didn't hurt their bottom line in any way. In fact, in some cases, companies became even more profitable. In this case, with the Washingtonian magazine, they literally produced some of their most read work during the pandemic. So I say all of that because office culture is used as an excuse or a way to cover up what they're really concerned about, which is tracking the productivity of their workers. And so I did a pretty in-depth segment on this for the Jacobin YouTube channel about how these executives have been using more and more of this tracking software to literally spy in on their workers as they're working remotely. Take a look at this video and then ask yourselves, do these CEOs really care about office culture?
I've always been very fearful of employees being remote. I've always wanted them in the office. I wanted to look at them, feel them. I'm a very tactile leader, I think, and I wanted that. And I was always uncomfortable. Are they working? How do we assess them working? We take a number of data points, be it a CRM tool that they're currently using, a phone system like a Vonage, an email system, it could be G Suite or Microsoft 365. We aggregate all those data points in a real-time proprietary dashboard that provides them a weighted score. We record and transcribe all your phone calls.
Well, everything I say on the phone
is transcribed. So we now
recorded.
All of it is recorded. We use AI tools to massage that into a real-time score that you see, as does your boss and the CEO and the VP of sales and the chief revenue officer. Everyone is seeing the productivity. Every morning you come to your desk, you have an email from us. You have your productivity score, your proto scores on the first line of the email. Your score yesterday for proto score was 74. Your colleagues were 90. They've done more. And it's a tool that you could gauge yourself against your peers.
What a complete and utter goon, and honestly, a total creeper. Like, oh yeah, I want to touch them, I want to feel them, I want to watch them. Are they being productive enough? And then look at how they try to pit their workers against each other. Oh, you see that your colleagues were 90% more productive than you were. What happened to office culture? What happened to company culture? It's BS.
So I know dudes like that, and they really think, again, they're in such a bubble, they think they nailed it. And other people listening.
Yeah, he's proud of himself.
Oh, 100%. And the people listening think like, ooh, that's kind of interesting. Oh, how could we track our employees? Now, guys, again, we're reasonable here, right? So do you have to know if the people that work for you are doing a good job? Of course you do, right? And are there certain jobs that require a certain amount of work, certain number of hours of work? Yes. And can you track that? Yes. But tracking every minute of their calls, every minute and second of their breathing, number one, it's a waste of time. It's not at all productive. Let me rate your productivity, okay, and compare it to other CEOs' productivity. I bet you don't score that well because you're bothering to weirdly spy in on your employees. There's certain things you have to do, right? And there's certain things that you're choosing to do in this overly oppressive system. And there's just no need for that level of intrusion. It kind of, in this, yeah, it creates some degree of, I know this is overstating it, but psychological terror.
No, not some degree. It does, Cenk. This is, I mean, think about it. This has to do with people's livelihood. And when you're being tracked on how many emails you send, that's part of the software that was, that was featured in that piece.
Exactly, and I just can't. But how do you know that the emails make sense? They're efficient. Maybe you're sending too many emails. So look, the most important thing is the bottom line. I'm gonna read one comment here from our member section and then conclude on that with my thoughts. Lich McConnell wrote in, my company did a survey asking who would like to remain remote. Less than a third want to go back into the office. Since our productivity is the same or better, and our management isn't insane, outdated, it's not work without an ass in a seat types, they're letting us. And that's exactly it, guys. It's not unfair for management to say, do your job, right? And do it well, right? Because we're all in this together and we all need to excel together. It is unfair to say you've done your job well, but not at the right location or the right manner, or you took a 7-minute break instead of a 5-minute break. Ask them to do their job, look at the results. That's it. You don't need more than that, right? We all want everybody to work as hard as we all work so hard here, right? So it's not a matter of that, but you don't have to oppress people while you're doing it. And so if somebody says to me, there's some jobs, by the way, you have to be here, like us. Okay, we did do it remote for a while during coronavirus, but it's better at the studio. So the hosts have to be here, right? But there's other jobs that you don't need to be here at all. Why does an engineer need to be here? He could code just as well from his apartment. If you get me better coding, you get me better results from your apartment, I'm not dumb. I'd rather have you in your apartment, right? So unfortunately, there's an old culture that says that employees are not to be trusted. And you have to constantly monitor them because they're bad people. Then maybe you didn't do your job right in hiring and creating the right culture, etc. So you have to believe in the people that you work with to some degree, right? And then you have to expect good results from them. That's true too. But being an Orwellian big brother doesn't help anybody, including the company.
Yeah, I just think that, it's just, you should give yourself credit because you're not like that at all. And you're not like that at all under this system that obviously provides all the incentives for the CEO to squeeze as much labor, as much value as humanly possible from its workers, because workers are seen as a cost, even though they're the very people who are making the revenue and the profit for the executives. Like that's just the system that we function under.
Super last thing. And then there's the different sizes of the companies, right? There's the ones that are barely hanging in there, digital media, okay? And then there are the giant companies who then tell us, no, we have no choice but to squeeze every red cent out of every employee while we're on our super yachts, right? No, and those are the ones that buy the politicians. And those are the ones that get away with the worst stuff. We gotta go back to a culture of sanity in the whole country, and yes, including inside companies. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.